Good night, America. It's time for your news by the numbers. Tonight's number is 1100. Pennsylvania's new congressional district map released by the state Supreme Court erased 1,100 miles of district borders. This map is sure to improve Democrats' electoral outcomes in the state, but it's not going to be a blowout. So let's dive in and see what changes are happening in the Keystone State. America, this is a big story. We've been covering this story on the Fowler Show since it has started. And so we're proud to bring you an update on this story. So let me give you a little bit of background if you've missed all these Fowler shows, which I guess sucks to be you. But if you haven't missed this Fowler show, then you have to endure this update. So the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania is an elected position. They are elected by the state to sit on the Supreme Court. Okay? The Supreme Court, after they were recently elected, people sued because of the fact that the maps were drawn so unfairly to favor Republicans. What I mean unfairly, Pennsylvania, President Trump won Pennsylvania by 1 point. Pennsylvania is pretty much a 50-50 state. 50% Democrats, 50% Republicans. But their congressional map is written in a way, or drawn in a way, that it now currently has 12 Republicans in their delegation to the United States Congress, and only 5 Democrats with 1 seat vacant. So this has created a predicament and a conundrum of epic proportion, meaning the votes of Democrats have been devalued and the votes of Republicans have been devalued, because when you draw gerrymander districts, like what has happened in Pennsylvania prior to this, you have a situation where people's votes don't really count as much as they should count to win or sway an election. So if you're watching this on YouTube or you're watching this on Facebook, you are now looking at a picture of the old congressional map, which, as you can see, favored Republicans. So the Supreme Court, in their decision, this is the state Supreme Court, ruled that this new map is the better map. Now, this graphic compares the electoral map after the changes. One of the requirements of the new map was compactness. These districts are compact. These are not. So you see some districts that we're showing you are compact and contiguous and look like a real district should look. And the other districts are what we call non-compact, which are little squiggly lines. Looks like a little kid playing in an art book at Denny's. And so that's the situation that you have here. Now, here's the good news. The court ordered the map to be redrawn, and the Supreme Court redrew the map to favor all voters in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, this new map more closely will allow Pennsylvania to represent how it votes electorally statewide. So it's going to be now it's going to be an official purple state. It was a purple state for presidentials and statewide elections, and a red state for everything else when it came to congressional maps. Now, this is good news, because this is not a Republican issue or a Democratic issue. Gerrymandering is a larger problem in this country. We shouldn't do it. This idea that we draw districts to favor one group of people over another group of people is downright wrong, and not what our founders intended these maps to represent. What these maps represent is population growth, and the map should be adjusted for only population growth. It shouldn't be drawn in a way that's so like you get all the, basically what was happening before this Supreme Court case in Pennsylvania was you would get all the Republicans in one district, and they would pack the Democrats in one and pack the Republicans in other, and depending upon which party had the majority in the state legislature, that party would determine who did the packing. Well, the good news is we found a remedy. Now, state Republicans are saying that they will likely sue in the federal court. Now, here's why they won't have standing. So this is just a veiled threat and a waste of Republican dollars. They could actually just spend that money and actually try to run some real races instead of trying to get a rigged map. But I digress. So how the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled on this piece of legislation is this way. They basically said that we're not ruling on federal law. We have state constitutional laws, and we have state constitutional amendments that apply to how people vote and how elections happen. We're using the state law as a basis for us to make this ruling. Thus, the Supreme Court has no jurisdiction, or a federal court has no jurisdiction over a state law unless that state law contradicts federal law. And in this case, it does not. So Republicans will waste their time going to the federal courts trying to throw this out to save these seats. And the people of Pennsylvania will finally get their voices heard in a fair and equitable way. This should be nonpartisan, people. These are one of these issues that should be absolutely nonpartisan. We should have nonpartisan, redistricting based off population growth and nothing else. And because we have this ideal of whoever's in charge controls how the map is drawn, you've created a Congress so you can get nothing done. So what the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania did is they said, hey, screw that. We're actually going to try to get something done for the American people, and the best way to do that is to draw fairer congressional districts, people. Fairer congressional districts that help all voters and not help the political party that currently controls the state legislature.